Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday and welcome to your Rangers Review morning briefing for Friday, the 12th of September. I'm Derek Clark and I'm joined this morning by Chris Jack. How goes it, Chris?
All good, all good. I didn't have to get out of bed really early this morning and make my way up to the training ground for a 9 o'clock start. So Blair has taken that particular bullet for us, and we are just the lucky ones that get to discuss Nico Raskin and his Rangers future once again.
Yes. Incidentally, I'm a big fan of early press conferences. You a fan of those, Chris? Get them out of the way. Apart from getting up earlier, gets it done and dusted pretty early on.
It does. I'm a big fan of a 9 o'clock start. Actually, has to be said. If it gets it done, gets it out the road, it means we can all crack on. An early cut on a Friday is no bad thing at all. So I think Steven Gerrard was the last Rangers manager to regularly have these 9 o'clock starts. Also, some of them, depending on the season, we're in on Zoom right enough. But if it's going to be 9 at a training ground, much rather have that than hanging around there. There's a couple of ones a few weeks ago. It's like 4:30 or something. I think Russell Martin was starting, and that's no use to anyone. So no, the more 9 o'clock starts, the better.
Absolutely. Right, let's get to it then, because Russell Martin has been speaking. Now, you can watch that press conference in full over on the YouTube channel, folks. If you haven't seen it yet, then give it a well. If you can stomach it. I know that many of you are a bit sick of the manager's press conferences already, but that is available to watch over on the channel right now. We're going to play the headline clip. Blair, as Chris said, has been there. And he asked the manager about Nico Raskin, about the situation. Of course, we heard that there would be from Kevin Thelwell that he would be sitting down with Nico and the head coach when he returned from international duty. And Blair also asked him if he will be available for selection for tomorrow. So this is what Russell Martin had to say.
Still here after that transfer window is Nico Raskin. There's a little bit of chat of maybe some clear the air talks between yourself and him. Have you had those? And can I also ask, will he be in the squad for Saturday?
Yeah, no, he won't be in the squad tomorrow. We have a lot of conversations, as we do with every player. But he's back training with the squad, which is a good step. And now, like every player, really has a duty to make sure that he earns the trust of all his other teammates and the coaching staff and the staff in the building to help us win football matches. It's the same for every player here.
He obviously played for his country during the week. Can you explain to fans maybe why a little bit more he won't be included?
No, I just said I think everyone needs to. We have to be on the pitch with trust and feeling and clarity, and that's it. And I think the most important thing is Nico knows why, the players know why, and we all move forward. And we have to win football matches now. And he's part of a squad in training that needs to help that and put himself back in the squad and the team to help us win matches.
So that is it, the headline news, Chris. No Nico Raskin in the squad tomorrow. It's clear from what Russell Martin said there that, doesn't trust him, let's be honest, at this point in time, which is, we're not privy to what has gone on in that dressing room between the manager and the player, of course. But let's be honest, he's arguably Rangers' best player. And we need the best players on the park. So it's a big call from the head coach. It's not a popular one, of course. And on his head be it. What do you make of what he had to say there?
I think the reaction to that clip and the stories that we put on social media and some of the tweets and stuff that were put out, the reaction to people on the comments, it tells you what the Rangers fans think of the Raskin situation and what they think of Russell Martin's stance on it. I think it's important to remember Nico, with all respect to him, as much as I like him, he's a really, really good player. I've got a lot of time for him. It's not Barry Ferguson or Paul Gascoigne that we're talking about here. He ultimately, no player is bigger than the club, is not bigger than the squad. And every player has to do their bit for the greater good. On the flip side of that, Nico Raskin is a very good player. He's arguably Rangers' best player. And do Rangers stand a better chance of winning football matches with Nico Raskin in the team than in the stand? Of course they do. I think they have to find a way to get him back in the squad. They have to find a way to get him back in the team. Otherwise, Rangers are considerably weaker. and it's a Rangers squad that, as we know, has not won a game Premiership-wise yet. There's a whole load of room for improvement. And if that improvement is going to come, I think Nico Raskin is a really important part of that. So it just feels like an unnecessary distraction situation that once again dominates the build-up to a game. And as we've spoken about this week, as we've written about on the site, it's a must-win game for Russell Martin. He cannot afford to lose to Hearts tomorrow, or you know what the reaction at Ibrox and amongst the wider support is going to be. So him not picking Nico for the squad, I think that squad phrase is a big point. If he wasn't to pick him for the team, I think that's a different thing. To not have him in the squad, now who's going to be on the bench tomorrow that's better than Nico Raskin? There's not going to be one. Again, with all respect, Kieran Dow or Connor Barron, if they're one of the guys, if they're the central midfield options in the squad, and Nico Raskin's not in the squad, nobody can tell me that that's the best use of Rangers resources. So the manager is obviously sticking to his guns on it, and ultimately he will live or die by these decisions.
Yeah. He will. A point that was put to me and Stevie yesterday, and King Charles Spaniel gets in touch as well with this point. He says that Martin would look weak if Raskin plays. I don't necessarily think he would have looked weak. I think even if you had him in the squad on the bench, then you're thinking, okay, they've sat down, they've addressed the situation, and he'll just work himself back into the first team. But the fact he's not even in the squad tells me he's still not happy with the situation. It's clearly an off-field issue that has gone on here, because it's not on the pitch, as we touched on there. He's one of, if not the best Rangers player at this moment in time. A lot of fans scratching their heads as to why someone that could share a pitch and excel with Yuri Tielemans and Kevin De Bruyne won't be involved in the Rangers setup in the squad, as you touched on. It's not a popular decision, and as you said, the manager will live or die by that. Hearts will certainly be licking the lips at that. They'll be happy with that. I mean, they're missing a couple of players themselves for tomorrow, but Rangers will not have Nico Raskin in that midfield. Do you think there's a resolution to this, Chris, then, from what Russell Martin has said there? He won't be involved tomorrow. Do you think there is a scenario where he is reintegrated into that squad, or is this going to be an issue that drags on until January? My fear, as I'm sure many supporters will feel the same, the value of the player will go down if he's not playing. And of course, the contract situation in the background as well. Should we maybe be resigned to the fact that they're not going to be getting as much money as we all thought we would be with Nico Raskin?
That's the danger if this situation is not resolved. If it doesn't find a way to sort itself out, Rangers are going to lose money over it. And there's no sugarcoating that. No, this, as we've all spoken about, as Kevin Thelwell mentioned in his RTV interview a couple of weeks ago, it's a World Cup year. Nico is very much on course to be part of that Belgium squad at the World Cup. If you are in that squad, your value goes up. If you're playing in that team, your value goes up. If anything risks that, and you have to say 3-4 months of not playing football would certainly risk that, that's then going to hurt Rangers. That's then going to hurt Rangers' bottom line, and that doesn't make any sense in a football perspective. It makes no sense in a business perspective. And as I touched on there, Nico Raskin is part of the best Rangers side right now. If he'd been sold right at the start of the window, I think people would have been upset, but they could maybe have understood it, and it would have been a case of, well, it's the right time, good time to cash in on an asset, let's go and spend the money. Part of the Russell Martin's problem is he signed Joe Rothwell. People see Rothwell as the Raskin replacement, and Rothwell's form has not been anywhere near the required level. That then leaves Martin open to all sorts of criticism from fans. And if Rothwell plays tomorrow and Rangers don't win the game or they drop points again, we know what the narrative is going to be after it. So if this was a player who the fans really liked, but it was clear that he wasn't part of the best Rangers team, that's then a different scenario. I think you'll struggle to find a Rangers fan who wouldn't have Nico Raskin as part of their Rangers starting 11. Russell Martin clearly feels otherwise. So there was already an awful lot riding on Saturday afternoon. There's even more riding on it now.
Yeah, I've seen someone commenting that the only two people that are happy Nico's not part of the Rangers team tomorrow is Russell Martin and Derek McInnes. So it's not a popular decision, of course. It's one that you hope that Rangers come through with a victory. Anything less, and you can imagine what the reaction is going to be. There's a point that came in as well, but the atmosphere at Ibrox, what that's going to be like. There was chance for Nico in the last game against Celtic, of course. What do you anticipate the reaction to be like, Chris? I think an early goal would help things massively for Russell Martin, but if it doesn't go the way he wants it to go, we've seen Ibrox being a tad toxic already this season. It could be a very unpleasant afternoon if things don't go his way.
It's not going to take much to turn Ibrox, no. Given the nature of the Rangers fans right now. It's not going to take much to turn it at all. The piece that I wrote on the site this week outlined just what's at stake for Russell Martin. Of course, it's one game at a time, and it's the old cliche. But you look at this run coming up with Hearts, with Hibs, with Genk, and then that trip to Livingston. That's a really difficult run of fixtures for Rangers. If they can win all four of them, what a difference that makes to the mood, what a difference potentially it could make to the league table. If they were to lose all four of them, then you're at the stage of life becoming really, really difficult for a lot of people, and not just for Russell Martin. If it's somewhere in the middle, people will make up their own minds. But the problem for Russell Martin is a lot of people have already made up their minds, and it's a hard task to turn that around. When you get yourself in that position, it becomes really, really difficult to turn that around. So there is no understating the importance of this game tomorrow. And as you touched on there, Derek, Hearts will fancy their chances. Now, Hearts, their record at Ibrox is fairly poor. It has to be said. I think it's 4,000 days or so. I saw our Hearts colleagues writing that day since the last one at Ibrox. Russell Martin really needs that tick over once again, because he can't afford Hearts to come to Ibrox and win. But if you're Derek McInnes, you fancy your chances of this. You've had a good start to the season, a bit of momentum behind Hearts. You know that Rangers are there to be exploited, and Derek knows better than most what that Ibrox crowd is like. He'll be saying to his players, go out, start well, and then go and see what's there for you on the day.
Yes, Stevie says, what's going on with your cam, Derek? It's just the reflection of my mic and my window is what it is. It's nothing untoward, so don't worry about that, Steve. Moving on from other points that he did mention, he touched on the two new boys, the deadline day signings, Derek Cornelius and Youssef Chermiti. He says both are available for tomorrow. And he said that we're really happy with the group and the characters we have brought in. And on the two new signings, he says, Chermiti, we're really excited to have him here. He was desperate to be here with interest from other clubs across Europe. Derek brings great qualities to the group. We'll be able to tweak things a lot more now. And I'm really excited by this moving forward. Do you think the pair of them start tomorrow? Of the two, I think I'd be more inclined to start Derek Cornelius. Chris, would you go along with that? Do you see them making their debuts tomorrow?
I think we'll certainly see both of them at some point. Cornelius, as we touched on the other day there, he has to be in with a real shout of starting, just to give Rangers a bit more balance in that centre half pairing. Whether Chermiti comes in or not, probably not, given Miovski's obviously already made his debut. He didn't get a lot of service in that Old Firm game, it has to be said. Obviously, Rangers didn't go Celtic any problems at all. So a difficult shift to be a Rangers number 9 in a side that's that ineffective in the final third. So I would imagine it will be Miovski that starts, and we'll see Chermiti at some point. But you have to get these guys up and running. You have to get them match time as quickly as possible. And as we touched on there, it's a big run of fixtures coming up over this next couple of weeks. Both of them will be required, but I would imagine Cornelius, certainly after his exploits in midweek and also coming into Glasgow on a real high after his international goal, I think he's definitely in with a shout. And again, given John Souttar's performances during the break, playing well for Scotland, do you switch Souttar to the right? You bring Cornelius in on the left. I think that partnership gives you a bit more balance. It's been a difficult few weeks for Nasser Giga. Also, the Bruges games standing out in that regard. So I think we could see a Souttar and Cornelius partnership tomorrow.
I would go along with that. I've got to say, Russell Martin also said we have to have the same level of aggression as the Celtic match. I want us to create more and be more attacking. Ultimately, we have to go and win football matches. We have to start this tomorrow. Well, absolutely. That was the one bugbear for me from that Celtic game, is that Rangers offered very little in an attacking sense. So you're looking at your creative outlets, the likes of Tello Aasgaard. If he is starting the game, I'd be playing Gassama Antman, who's been off the boil a little bit. He's come back from international duty as well. Who do you play on the flanks, Chris? I'd imagine you'll play the two wide men. I would play Aasgaard just off Bojan Miovski, I've got to say, and I'd bring Chermiti off the bench at some point. But who are you starting on both wings?
You would imagine Gassama certainly starts. You're then looking at that right-hand side. So is it Ant-Man coming back in? Is it Mikey Moore, who I thought worked hard enough in the Old Firm game, but didn't really have any joy at all? It'd be nice to get Aasgaard in the side. Again, talking about guys that are coming back to Glasgow and find fettle and a bit of confidence. We're still not really sure exactly where Aasgaard is going to be most effective in this Rangers side, because the games that he has played, there's been wee hints of it. You can see that he's definitely got quality. What is his best position? Is it going to be a change of shape in that midfield, and you go more of a 2 and a 3 rather than a 3 and then 2 wide men? I think Aasgaard playing just in behind someone would be his best role, whether that's Miovski or whether that's Chermiti, and that then leaves you 2 as your sitters, if you like. It's also not going to be Nico, so you'd imagine Joe Rothwell comes in, and you're then looking at, is it Diomande for a bit more class on the ball? Is it Lyle Cameron for a bit more running? Is it Conor Barron, who I thought acquitted himself well in the Old Firm game as well? So there's questions to be answered about the shape of that midfield. I think the 2 and then the 3 is probably the most enticing one for me. I think that gets the best out of everyone. Allows Aasgaard to play slightly higher. I then play him in that number 10 role almost, and just tell him, you go and pick the passes, you go and unlock these defences. And as you've done for Norway, if you can chip in with a goal or 2, that'd be smashing as well.
Yeah, most certainly. And I've got a feeling he's going to go with pretty much the same team as he went against Celtic. Whether he goes for the same system or not remains to be seen. But it will be intriguing to see how he lines up. I reckon Conor Barron gets a shout again in midfield after a man the match display, wasn't he, at Ibrox against Celtic. Thank you for the donation to Bluebells Are Blue, a big friend of the show. He says Russell Martin deserves some credit. He's managed to unite the fans for the first time in about 20 years. So we do like a bit of comedy on the show. So thank you for that. As we touched on, it's not a popular decision omitting Nico Raskin from that squad. Incidentally, he did say that the issue, he was pressed on it. He says the issue is now resolved for him because he is back training with the squad. So that's what he had to say about that. Moving on from that, one player that hasn't been playing much, Chris, is Nadim Bajrami. He's been speaking after appearing for Albania in their matches against Gibraltar and Latvia. He started in both those games, and he said about his season at Rangers so far. It was really good for me to start both games because I've not been playing a lot of football recently at Rangers. I felt like it was important that I showed what I could do again and took my chance. I believe I repaid the manager with my performances. It's important for me to return to my club and work hard and focus there. Then I will return to the national team next month and hopefully some more playing time. Of course, not in the European squad, Nadim Bajrami, which certainly a few supporters were thinking, well, really, could he have not got a spot in there? But I don't know who you would take out. I mean, Kieran Dill's not in there either, folks, although I'm sure that would have created a bit of a response if he was in there. Nadim Bajrami, should he be getting more game time, do you reckon, Chris? He was someone, I've got to say, I was surprised that he was still at the club when the window shut, because he's not been getting regular minutes. I thought it might have suited both parties if he was to move on.
He should be getting more game time, just not in a Rangers shirt.
Yeah.
He's not. I think I've been fairly clear on Bajrami over his Rangers career. He's just not for me. I think there's definitely something there technically, but the other qualities, mentality, work rate, effort, all the things that you take as non-negotiables in a Rangers player, I think he's just a couple of notches short on all of them. Slightly surprised that he is still here. It has to be said. I know there was talk towards the end of the window about him moving on, but we can check that out and didn't get anything to suggest that anything was close. And obviously the window then closes and he's still here. I don't think it's a surprise he's not in the European squad. Rangers really need to kind of juggle the numbers in terms of that group, and he was always likely to be one of the ones that missed out. If you've got new signings, obviously as Rangers do, you have to try and get them in the squad. So you would imagine it's a January exit, probably on loan. I don't see him getting the minutes that he's going to need. It's just hard to see where he gets in this side. We just spoke about the midfield there. He's been tried in a slightly wider role, playing slightly further up. I don't think that suits him. I don't think those wide roles, certainly the way that Martin wants those wide roles to operate, that's not going to be Bajrami. If the shape of the midfield was to change and you go with a number 10, he could slot in there, but I think he's down the pecking order in there. And you then go back down another line, and whether it's a 2 or a 3, he doesn't take any of those roles either. Obviously, the Raskin situation perhaps gives him a shot at being on the bench, but if everyone is fit and everyone's available, there's just a number of players that are ahead of Bajrami for each of those slots. So it's just a signing that's not really worked. His Rangers career started fairly well. He looked good in spells early on, tailed off, and then once it started to tail off, it never really looked like recovering. And it's been a difficult few months for him. So I don't think we'll see that much of him over the coming weeks. You then get to the January window, and it's another case of Rangers trying to ship out a player that, like so many, trying to ship out a player that's just not worked and has of no real value to the team.
Raskin's part of that European squad. I would like to think that he's back in contention and can contribute by the time that Genk come to Ibrox. If he's still not part of the squad, then I suppose might be right in asking, well, why was Bajrami not included in there instead? Because there's no point. Rangers are a man light anyway in the 25-man squad, the way that you need to register homegrown players. So they're 24-man as opposed to the 25 players in that pool. Moving on from that then, and some, of course, players coming back. Tello Aasgaard, you touched on there, Chris, netted 4 goals for Norway in an 11-1 win against Moldova. He was also speaking this morning in that press conference. I think it should be available now on the YouTube channel, folks. But he's speaking about that game. He said it was amazing to get some international goals. I had my family in the stands. It was great for them to be there. It's a confidence boost to take into tomorrow. On Erling Haaland, who notched 5 goals in that game. He says, a brilliant character, a leader. He gave the penalty to me for my hat-trick, which says a lot about his character. Every time I'm on international duty, I learn so much from him and the other players. Now, on the issue of where best to use him, and where Rangers can get the best out of him. He says, one of my strengths is I can play multiple positions. I'm looking forward to helping the team and adding goals. The last week has been really good for the new players to train together. He was sort of almost playing as a centre forward, if you like, when he came off the bench for Norway the other night there. So that's what I say. I think just playing behind Miovski, that was one of my criticisms of Aasgaard in that Old Firm game. I felt that he never really imposed himself enough on the game for my liking. It's all well and good trying to man Mark Callum McGregor out the game, but you're at home. I was expecting a bit more from him on the ball. So yeah, it'll be an interesting one. Perhaps as a number 10 behind the striker, Chris, we could see that tomorrow, do you reckon?
I would like to see it. So I think he's definitely shown something to suggest that he's got quality and that he could be an important part of this side. There's a lot of talk about him early on as being a player that Rangers was really keen to get in the door, and being really pleased that they were able to get in the door. Also had that injury issue right at the start, get a bit of a disrupted start, and you've then got a team over recent weeks that have been fairly poor, haven't they? And I say fairly poor, they've been very poor, and you're then trying to come into a side and make a difference when the fans are on your back, when results are not going well, when the team's not playing particularly well. That's a difficult task for any player to come in, never mind one who's just actually new to the club and new to the environment and everything everyone else that's going on. So it's not been the easiest of starts to life at Ibrox for fellow Aasgaard, but I think he's definitely got the required quality to come in and play a big part. As we mentioned earlier on, to score those 4 goals for Norway, if you don't come back absolutely springing through the steps up those steps at Okinawa to get in, then there's no hope for you. So I think he'll be in a really good place. You'd imagine he'll start against Hearts. I'd be surprised if he doesn't. And hopefully there's certainly plenty more to come from him in a Rangers jersey.
Yep. How do you see it going then tomorrow, result-wise? When I was on with, when was it? Was Stevie or was it with Blair, I think? I said I'd take a scrappy 1-0. Don't care how it comes. Rangers need to get off the mark with regards to wins. It's unthinkable to think of anything else, although it is a realistic possibility that Hearts come to Ibrox and take something, given what we've witnessed from Rangers so far and what we've witnessed from Hearts, of course, as well. They'll be missing Frankie Kent and their record Brazilian signing through injury, which is a blow for them. But they'll have seen how teams have got results against Rangers so far, and I'm sure Derek McInnes will really fancy this tomorrow. But I'm going for a 1-0 scrappy old game, ugly game, Chris, but Rangers come out on top. Well, I certainly hope that will be the outcome. How do you see it going?
I'll fall on the same side of that fence as you. Rather than sitting on it and go for 1 each, I'll tip myself over and go for the 1-0. The start, as we touched on right at the top of the show, the start is going to be so important for Rangers. If Hearts look like they're up for it, which you'd imagine they will be, and they should be. If Hearts start well, it's not going to take much to turn that Ibrox crowd. You sometimes get yourself in positions where people talk themselves into, well, it's going to be one of those days and it's not going to go well for Rangers, and then eventually they get through it. It's going to take a big performance, and it's going to take something that we've just not seen from this Rangers side, not just on Saturday but over these coming weeks. Again, mentioned that in the piece I wrote on the site the other day there. Rangers don't just need one result or one performance, it's a whole string of them now. Russell Martin's put himself in the position, like Clement was fairly early on last season, when people decide that you're not the man, and it gets to the stage of, well, next result, that should be him out the door.
Yeah,
that's not a good position for any manager to find themselves in. Rangers could go and win the next 9 games. See if they then lose game number 10. People who are already entrenched in their position will just come back and say, "See, told you so. It should be out the door." So it's going to take something really, really special for Rangers to turn this around, and it simply has to start against Hearts. You've had enough time on the training ground. This is very much your squad, very much your group of players. This is your Rangers side now, and it's had more than enough money spent on it, more than enough time put into it. Time for talking is ultimately over, and Rangers simply have to go and pick up results now. So either way, win, lose or draw, there's going to be plenty of talking points on the pre-match, and certainly on the post-match show tomorrow, and certainly for us to get into next week. So time will tell. I don't think it's going to be a quiet Saturday, put it that way.
Yeah, just that point on if he wins a number of games and he loses one, we're in that sort of situation. I think that's partly as well Russell Martin's demeanour. He's not exactly endearing himself to the Rangers fans, is he? So I think that's a bit of a personality issue as well. I think with the manager, I think if the fans could see something on the pitch and he was speaking a good game, shall we say, and post it in pre-match interviews and the like, then I think he may just get a bit more leeway. But yeah, it's a tough situation at this point in time. That there's no denying that. But I just hope that Rangers come out on top tomorrow, and yeah, we can look forward to that game next week in the Cup. But yeah, if you are going to Ibrox, then I hope your team wins, folks. Safe journey and all that. And yeah, I'll be back on Monday morning. Just a reminder again, those press conferences, Aasgaard and Martin, available to watch on the YouTube channel. We'll stick the transcripts up on the website at some point in the near future as well. Right, that's us for Friday. So enjoy your day and your weekend, whatever you are doing. And yeah, we'll speak to you again. Well, in fact, before we go, before I get a boot up the backside, a quick word for our podcast sponsors. I knew I forgot something. Willows Fencing, folks, if you're looking for a new fence, these are the guys to go to. Certainly as we move into winter time, the weather becomes a lot more changeable as Chrissy's background disintegrates before our eyes. So I think he needs a new fence behind him by the looks of things. But yeah, Willows Fencing, the Glasgow-based fencing company you can trust and proud partners of the Rangers Review. They've got over 20 years experience in the game. Go give them a call, folks, or go onto their website, willows-fencing.com. Use the code Rangers Review to get 10% off. So go and head over just now. But we'll wrap up there for now. Enjoy your day, whatever you're doing. Bye for now.